How much should a local moving company cost for a local move? Say an apartment or a house, and you're just moving, across town. So that's kind of a difficult question to answer, considering rates vary across the United States. Obviously, in some parts of the country, people are used to making a little more than in other parts of the country. So it is up to you to kind of investigate the norm for your specific location. You should generally compare costs, maybe 2 to 3 different companies. There are, however, factors that are going to apply across the board no matter where you are. And first and foremost, the factors you're going to be looking at first and foremost are: what is the scope and scale of your shipment? Are you in an apartment? Are you in a single family home? Or are you in a condo? Ultimately, you're going to be looking at your situation, and I think, outside of looking whether you're in an apartment, condo, or single family home, how many rooms of furniture do you have? This is going to give you a pretty good idea of what to be looking for. And I'm going to go over some factors that are going to help you out so you're not so much relying on moving estimators, which are, for one, they can give you prices for certain factors, but moving estimators aren't necessarily going to give you a price that's going to complete your job necessarily. If you're lucky, that's what I think a lot of people expect, and I think that's the outcome people hope for. But ultimately, when a moving estimator gives you a cost, that cost is generally bound to a certain amount of movers, a certain truck, and usually a certain amount of labor. And that cost is often going to be accurate for, being bound to those factors. But if your situation calls for more labor than what is built into the quote, you're going to be responsible for the additional labor. So, with that being said, you want to make sure that you have enough guys and enough trucks built into your moving cost to get your job done. So, what is needed? I will say your average U-Haul size truck, which is a 24-footer or a 26-footer, which is a 2-foot difference. That is what most moving companies run. Some moving companies run smaller trucks, which can be not cool because, it might be cheaper to operate, but you don't have as much stuff, space for your stuff. So, you might be attracted to a low rate, but you realize you're getting a small truck. Might be a 16-footer, and a 16-footer might sound like, it's about 3/4 of the size of a 24-footer, until you realize a 16-footer might have a shorter ceiling, or it might be narrower. So, even though it's 3/4 of the length of a 24-footer, you might only be getting half the space. In general, a U-Haul size moving truck, 24-footer, might hold about 5 rooms of furniture. So that might be appropriate for a 2-bedroom apartment. 2 bedrooms, a living room, dining room, and kitchen. If you have a single family home, often you have 4 bedrooms, maybe a living room, dining room, kitchen, and family room. That's 8 rooms, and then you have a basement and garage added onto it. You probably need 2 U-Haul size trucks. A U-Haul size truck averages around 1,600 cubic feet. So if you have 2, that's going to be 3,200 cubic feet. So when you get a moving quote, you want to check your cubic footage, and you want to ask the cubic footage of the truck. You want to make sure that you have enough space. You want 1,600 cubic feet or a 24-foot moving truck for every 5 rooms of furniture you have. Each moving truck is usually going to have 3 movers or 2, so you might have 3 guys on a truck being thrown at a lot of stuff, or 4 guys in 2 trucks. You want to make sure you have enough guys to complete the job, because, if you only have 2 guys and you have 2 trucks worth, I mean, your job is not getting done that day. There's only so much time in the day, and movers can only move so quick. How quick do they move? Well, count the number of pieces of furniture you have. In my experience, your average room has about 6 pieces of furniture. So if you're an apartment and you have 5 rooms of furniture, every room has 6 pieces, you're up around 30 pieces, and then you're gonna have boxes on top of that. That's to me, that's a full truck. How fast do movers work? I mean, I'd say a 2 to 3 man moving crew usually works at a rate of 10 pieces an hour. So, 30 pieces plus boxes might take 3 to 4 hours. So how long do you need? 3 to 4 hours to load, 3 to 4 hours to unload. So you're looking at a full day. Now, does your moving quote say 6 to 8 hours? You also have to ask them what their policy is on billable time, because you are not getting charged just for the work being done. A lot of times you have to ask your mover, are they running that clock before they get to you? That is very, very, very common across the United States. These movers are calling this port to port. Means they are charging you from the time they pick up their truck at their moving facility while they're in transit out to you, load up to the destination, and then back to their facility. They call that port to port. Optionally, you might have door to door, which means they start their clock when they get to you and it's running, till completion of the work at your destination. So you have to ask them what their policy is on billable time, because if you have 6 to 8 hours of actual work to be done, if they're port to port, you might want to add about 3 hours of time to have, just the proper projection. You also don't want to necessarily go around calling to all these different movers and just asking, what's your hourly rate? What's your hourly rate? What's your hourly rate? A lot of companies are very aware that people do this. So therefore, what do? They set up their pricing structure so that they have the lowest hourly rate, because they want you to get sucked into their low price. However, you will find companies with the lowest hourly rates often have the highest excess charges, fuel surcharges. They might be charging you to wrap each piece of furniture. They might be charging you for stairs. All sorts of crazy things. I feel those additional charges are less or non-existent with some of the higher hourly rate companies around. You cannot get away from general market rate. Every city, state within the country has a general acceptable market rate for moves to be done. Generally speaking, no matter who you use, you're gonna generally pay what your move is worth on the market. So if you pick the lower hourly rate company, you're probably gonna pay excess additional fees that's gonna boost it right back up to market rate. If you have a company with a higher hourly rate, they're probably adding on less hourly fees. So of course, personal recommendations, help. Check with your real estate agent, check with friends and family, check with apartment communities that might have seen moving companies around. Just look around you, see who you see for moving trucks. Don't necessarily go by online too much. There's a lot of spam out there these days. There's a lot of websites with AI becoming so prevalent. You find these ads online and companies, and they have all these pictures and videos, and these companies aren't even real. They're really, really tricky. So, don't go by what you see online too much. You really just want to look around you in real life. And if you see moving trucks at a moving facility, if they allow it, maybe pop right into the office and, meet the people involved. And, the other thing is, you're going to be able to get quotes online and over the phone, Zoom calls, in-home. In-home can be fairly preferable if possible. A lot of companies these days are so busy they won't even do in-homes anymore. Other than that, a Zoom call can be good whenever you do get an estimate. Again, you want to be taking initiative to actually scrutinize that estimate, and you want to think to yourself, like, does this seem reasonable? You don't want the quote to be too low in number of movers and number of trucks and too low in the cubic footage. One thing that can happen is a moving company wants to get their foot in the door. They don't finish the job, and they know you're going to call them back to drag the job out to, what should be one day over multiple days. You want to make sure that you're hiring enough movers and enough trucks to get the job done within a day, because, you just want it to be done as soon as possible and in a reasonable amount of time. And so you really want to scrutinize your quote. Again, you usually want to get 2 to 3 estimates just to see what the opinion might be for multiple estimators. You also want to see, how bad did they want to help you out? Are they able to help you out? You might find someone really great, but the availability isn't good. You also want to usually ask a mover how many moves they do per day. Some movers, they do kind of like what's exclusive service, where they're only working for you for the day. A lot of movers do 2 to 3 customers in a day. That can be a downside if, you don't know if you're customer 1, 2, or 3, and customer 1 ends up taking too long because they added stuff or whatnot. Once a mover is committed to a move, once that bill of lading is signed, they're obligated to finish. So they might blow you off, they might delay you, they might show up a day or 2 later. You want to ask how important you are to them, and if you're the only customer for the day, or if you're just one of many and you're on a list and they're going to call you when they can to come service your move. I see a lot of information online, sometimes from real estate agents, that, I've seen some misinformation, some suggestions never to put a deposit down with a moving company. I disagree with that. What a deposit is doing is kind of your financial commitment to that moving company. And that's your financial commitment / contribution, really to solidify your date. A lot of recommendations online say, don't ever put a deposit down on a mover. Any mover that wants to do the work will just do it, and show up. You don't want to do that. Without your financial commitment, there's really no sort of agreement or contract that's enforceable. Nothing forcing them to actually show up. So to me, you should be looking for only movers that take deposits. You're going to have the option to do things over the phone or via email. If that's the case, you are going to want to be really, really, really clear with your mover on what's being moved. I will say, being in this industry, it is tremendous at the amount of situations I've been in where a potential customer has sent me a list of furniture to be moved. I have shown up to a job and it is 5 times as much as what was on the list. So you're going to want to be really clear. If you are sending a list, you're going to want to send basically a summary of the amount of rooms in your house. You don't want to not say how many rooms, because the mover has no idea. And it's a good idea to say, I have 4 bedrooms, a living room, family room, kitchen, basement, attic. Do a summary of your entire household so they know the scope. And then for each room, list what to expect from that room. And again, you want to be accurate with the amount of boxes you're going to have. You don't want to be telling a mover they're moving 10 boxes when you have 200. So you got to be really, really, really upfront with your movers if you are expecting an accurate assessment. You don't want 2 guys in a truck showing up when it needs to be 5 movers and 2 trucks. These very large single-family homes, think 2,400 square feet and up, a lot of times it's not unusual for them to require 2, 4, 6 movers and 3 trucks, meaning an entire truckload dedicated to the top level, entire truckload dedicated to the main level, and then another truckload dedicated to the basement / garage / outdoors. That is very common for a very large single family home. And by large, I mean over 2,400 square feet. Your average ranch, split level ranch, might need, again, the standard 4 guys, 2 trucks. Truckload for the main level, truckload for the basement / outdoors, maybe garage. And again, your standard 2 or 3 guys in a truck should be suitable for most apartments. Other than that, I hope this helps. There's no hard, fast number how much a mover costs. Depends on where you are in the country. You might consider that moving is hard. No one wants to do it. Often movers are getting paid maybe close to double whatever the minimum wage is for your area, because how else are you going to convince people to break their backs for the rest of their life and do risky stuff? So your average movers are usually making double or close to double whatever minimum wage is. And from there, you can expect the actual moving company to be charging maybe 3 to 4 times that rate. Because again, moving is a very high risk industry. Insurance costs per mover are through the roof by the hour. And then the moving company has overhead and truck costs from there. So, maybe that gives you a helpful, reasonable guide for wherever you are. Maybe, again, take minimum wage, double it, and then maybe triple or quadruple it. And that might be a reasonable hourly rate for the operation of movers. And then, you just multiply that by however many guys you have on the job. And then, figure 10 pieces an hour. And from there, you got to do that for the load, do that for the unload, and then add travel on top of it. Your average move is going to be, billable hours anywhere from 6 to 12 hours on average. So that's going to be your general range. Just the less you have to do, the simpler you make it for the movers, the lower your bill is going to be. The higher the bill gets, the more you add to it. So hopefully this helps. And again, this is regarding local moving, really anywhere within the United States. And hopefully it's able to help people out.